The city slept until Ethan Cole's phone screamed across the dark. The narrator observes that he answers because silence feels like surrender. A voice said, "This is corporate compliance, your accounts are frozen." Ethan Cole said, "There has to be a mistake." The voice replied, "Audit anomalies, effective immediately." The narrator notes his breath fogs against the window, as if the night itself rejects him. Ethan Cole said, "Put me through to Victoria Hale." The voice said, "Unavailable, counsel advises no contact." The narrator hears the crack in his composure like glass underfoot. Ethan Cole said, "You're burning my life in the dark." The voice said, "Do not enter company property, Mr. Cole." The narrator watches him stare at the ceiling, seeing ceilings fall. Ethan Cole said, "If you did this to protect a lie, I will exhume it." The line went dead, leaving only the hum of a city that keeps its secrets. Morning breaks like a verdict as Ethan Cole reaches the revolving doors he once paid for. The narrator notes that security glass remembers every fingerprint, but forgets every favor. A guard said, "Badge, please." Ethan Cole said, "It should work." The reader hears the lock's denial beep like a laugh. The guard said, "Executive order, no entry." Ethan Cole said, "Call facilities. They know me." The guard said, "We have guidance from the top." The narrator watches employees avert their eyes, as if his ruin is contagious. Ethan Cole said, "Victoria Hale signed this." The guard said, "That's above my grade." The narrator sees his reflection in the chrome, a man erased in daylight. Ethan Cole said, "Tell her I will not stay erased." The glass turns, but not for him, and the street wind answers. The narrator follows Ethan Cole to a co-working desk where he hunts the source of the rot. "On the endest you were, mystery, I toward this Tenegabas." He opens archived emails like graves. Ethan Cole said, "Show me the audit trail." A PDF blooms with forged approvals under his name. "No." He whispers through clenched teeth that someone mimicked his cadence. Ethan Cole said, "Whoever wrote this knew my habits." The system clock shows edits at hours he was offline. A message from a shell vendor loiters with perfect timing. Ethan Cole said, "Victoria wanted a signature, she printed mine." The narrator registers a tremor in his mouse hand. Not fear, precision. Ethan Cole said, "Maya will see the seams." The screen holds quiet, but the lie shouts in black ink. At 1:17 p.m., the narrator hears the news anchor's voice sharpen like a blade. A headline brands Ethan Cole, the architect of a phantom embezzlement ring. The anchor said, "Sources cite internal audits." Ethan Cole said, "They cite the lie I bled for." Commentators smile with professional pity. The narrator captures the moment his name becomes a cautionary tale. Ethan Cole said, "They needed a villain with access." A panelist said, "This is systemic failure." He answers the television like a witness under oath. Ethan Cole said, "You will eat those words when the dead speak through data." "Quite much." The anchor keeps smiling, but his number crawls across the ticker like a scar. Dusk draws long wires across the sky, as a shadow steps from the idling sedan. The narrator recognizes danger by how silence grows polite. Marcus Voss said, "Evening, Mr. Cole." Ethan Cole said, "Tell Victoria Hale I got her message." Marcus Voss said, "There are cleaner exits than martyrdom." The narrator notes the man's stillness, a weapon disguised as posture. Ethan Cole said, "You enforce a story that is already collapsing." Marcus Voss said, "Stories collapse onto those beneath them." The curb light flickers, timing each breath. Ethan Cole said, "If I vanish, the archive appears." Marcus Voss smiled without heat and said, "Then vanish loudly." The sedan door opened like a parenthesis that could hold a body. The narrator follows Ethan Cole as he unlocks a rusted storage unit far from the city towers that erased him. Dust swirls in the morning light, landing on boxes marked with the name of a company that now denies he existed. He lifts a framed photo of his late father, who once told him integrity could outlast empires. Ethan Cole said, "You were wrong, Dad. They eat integrity for breakfast." The narrator notices his hand tremble before he steadies it, jaw lock. A stack of awards gleams faintly, mocking him with their weight. Ethan Cole said, "These plaques can't buy me back my name." He kneels beside an old prototype server board, the first build he ever shipped. Ethan Cole said, "I gave them a decade. They gave me a scar." The narrator watches him close the box again, as if burying part of himself. Ethan Cole said, "But I'm not dead yet." At a quiet diner on the city's edge, Ethan Cole sits across from Maya Brooks, his former colleague turned reluctant ally. The narrator sees her stir coffee without drinking it, eyes sharp but cautious. Maya Brooks said, "You're a target now. Fighting them is suicide." Ethan Cole said, "Then call me dead already." She sets the spoon down with deliberate calm, meeting his glare. Maya Brooks said, "They'll crush anyone who stands with you, including me." Ethan Cole said, "You've seen the fabric of their lies. Help me tear it open." The narrator catches the flicker of guilt in her face. A memory she hides. Maya Brooks said, "I can trace their ledgers, but I won't burn my life for revenge." Ethan Cole said, "Not revenge, survival." Her silence lingers longer than her words, binding her to him in a fragile pact. Detective Liam Carter leans against the hood of his cruiser outside precinct walls, his badge catching noon sun. The narrator describes him as a man bound by rules, older than himself. Liam Carter said, "You cross their fences again, I'll book you myself." Ethan Cole said, "You'd rather cage me than them." Liam Carter said, "Evidence, not rage, wins courtrooms." The narrator sees Ethan's laugh cut sharp, empty of joy. Ethan Cole said, "Their evidence is manufactured." Liam Carter said, "So build better, or don't build at all." The words sting, not with betrayal, but with refusal to bend. Ethan Cole said, "One day you'll see your badge was their leash." Liam Carter's jaw tensed, but he did not move. The narrator knows both men believe they are saving something, but only one is ready to bleed for it. Inside a dim pub, Ethan Cole finds Robert Kane, the mentor who once vouched for him at board meetings. The narrator senses the tension in Kane's trembling hands around his glass. Ethan Cole said, "You signed the report that buried me." Robert Kane said, "I had no choice." Ethan Cole said, "You had a spine once." The narrator notes how Kane's eyes drop, ashamed. Robert Kane said, "They offered ruin or silence. I chose silence." Ethan Cole said, "And handed them my throat." The jukebox hums, a song out of tune with the weight of the moment. Robert Kane said, "Victoria Hale has files no one can touch." Ethan Cole said, "Then I'll touch them." The narrator knows betrayal ages a man faster than time. Kane looks 20 years older than when Ethan last saw him. Any day. As dusk creeps, Ethan Cole stands on a rooftop, the skyline burning in orange haze. The narrator hears the city breathe indifferently beneath him. He grips the rusted railing, knuckles pale. Ethan Cole said, "You took my name. You lit the match. Now I'll burn your fortress down." The wind whips his words away, but the vow embeds itself in stone. The narrator observes that he has lost the softness that once tempered him. Ethan Cole said, "Every secret you buried will see daylight." A passing helicopter drones above, corporate logo on its tail, mocking his solitude. Ethan Cole said, "I'll break you with the truth you fear." The horizon flickers with office towers that once bore his fingerprints. Now they glint like enemies in armor. The narrator follows Ethan Cole and Maya Brooks through an abandoned office suite, lit only by a flickering overhead bulb. Stacks of forgotten files and dust-coated desks surround them like gravestones. Maya Brooks said, "This vendor shell matches 3 invoices tied to Hale's operations." Ethan Cole said, "She paid herself through ghosts." The narrator hears keys rattle as Maya pulls up a hidden spreadsheet. Maya Brooks said, "Here, Transfers routed offshore, disguised as compliance fees. Ethan Cole said, "Every number is a nail for her coffin." Their eyes meet, knowing exposure means death for both. The narrator observes their silence weighted with unspoken fear. Ethan Cole said, "We follow this trail until her empire collapses." The bulb flickers once more, as if warning them to stop. The narrator watches Marcus Voss enter a basement garage where Ethan once trusted a colleague. A handshake now becomes betrayal. Marcus Voss said, "You made the right call." The colleague, male 36, pale with regret, said, "He's desperate, he'll come to you." Marcus Voss said, "Desperation makes him predictable." The narrator senses danger in Marcus's stillness. Ethan Cole hides behind a pillar, listening to the transaction of his ruin. Ethan Cole said, "Even loyalty is currency here." He steps back quietly, heart pounding, rage burning. The narrator notes his resolve hardening like steel. Ethan Cole said, "They turned my ally into their informant. Now I know who else bleeds on her leash." Silence in the garage feels louder than footsteps. Detective Liam Carter corners Ethan Cole in an empty stairwell, shadows stretching under sodium light. Liam Carter said, "You broke into private property for evidence. That's a felony." Ethan Cole said, "So is manufacturing a fraud to bury me." The narrator describes Liam's jaw locked, torn between law and conscience. Liam Carter said, "You're making it easy for them to bury you deeper." Ethan Cole said, "Then dig with me, not against me." Silence thickens between steel steps and echoing walls. The narrator notes, Liam's badge gleams in the low light, a symbol both noble and chained. Ethan Cole said, "Your system is their shield." Liam Carter said, "It's still the only system I have." The stairwell feels smaller with every word. In a narrow library archive, the narrator finds Lily Park, a junior accountant, trembling as she passes Ethan a worn folder. Lily Park said, "I shouldn't have kept these, but I knew they were wrong." Ethan Cole said, "You held on to truth when no one else dared." Her hands shake as invoices spill onto the table, dates marked in red. The narrator notices her eyes dart toward the door as if hunted. Lily Park said, "They used my credentials to push payments through. I'm as guilty as you on paper." Ethan Cole said, "On paper, maybe, but not in blood." The room feels like confession under fluorescent hum. Lily Park said, "If they find out I spoke to you, I'm finished." Ethan Cole said, "Then we make sure they never silence you." The narrator sees resolve ignite in fear's shadow. The narrator trails Ethan Cole into a discreet cafe corner where a weary board member meets him. The board member said, "You think you're the first to challenge Victoria Hale. She buries threats before breakfast." Ethan Cole said, "Then I'll be the first she fails to bury." The board member slides a note, trembling. The narrator sees sweat bead at his temple despite the cool evening air. Board member said, "There's a deeper layer. An operation she funds outside the books." Ethan Cole said, "Then that's where the bodies are buried." He folds the note carefully. A man gathering weapons, invisible to most. The narrator feels the tension of whispered treason. Board member said, "If she finds out I met you, I'm finished." Ethan Cole said, "We're all finished unless I win." The night air trembles with a secret too sharp to hold. The narrator watches Maya Brooks hunch over a glowing monitor in her apartment, code streaming across glass. Ethan Cole stands behind her, pacing like a caged predator. Maya Brooks said, "This ledger isn't payroll. It's hush money routed through regulators." Ethan Cole said, "She bought silence in bulk." The narrator notes the reflection of numbers painting their faces in blue. Maya Brooks said, "If we decrypt all of this, it links her to every cover-up." Ethan Cole said, "Then let's sharpen it into a blade." Her fingers fly across keys, the hum of the machine like a heartbeat. The narrator feels the weight of truth clawing its way into daylight. Maya Brooks said, "Every transfer here could topple her throne." Ethan Cole said, "Then tomorrow, the ground shifts beneath her." Silence lingers, louder than the clicking keys. The narrator follows Ethan Cole as Lily Park lays out her secret in a dim storage alcove. Lily Park said, "I was a ghost in their system, a pass-through for payments that weren't mine." Ethan Cole said, "They used you as camouflage." Her voice cracks as she spreads false invoices like a confession. Lily Park said, "On paper I signed them, but it wasn't me." Ethan Cole said, "They built a cage in your name, and mine." The narrator observes guilt tightening her shoulders, the weight of crimes she never chose. Ethan Cole said, "You are not their weapon anymore." Lily Park said, "Then help me burn the lies before they burn me." The room smells of ink and fear, truth trembling in her hands. Detective Liam Carter meets Ethan Cole in the back of a parking lot, his voice low and clipped. Liam Carter said, "Someone in my department protects Hale. Every complaint dies before it reaches a file." Ethan Cole said, "So the badge itself is on her payroll." The narrator notes how Liam's face tightens, torn between truth and duty. Liam Carter said, "If I press too far, I lose my shield." Ethan Cole said, "Then what is a shield worth if it hides corruption?" The narrator watches shadows from the streetlight cut across their faces like prison bars. Liam Carter said, "I shouldn't even be telling you this." Ethan Cole said, "Then you already chose a side." His silence is an admission heavier than words. The narrator describes Robert Kane slumped at his desk, sweat on his forehead as Ethan Cole towers over him. Robert Kane said, "They forced me to sign everything, or they'd destroy me." Ethan Cole said, "They destroyed me instead." Kane's trembling hand opens a drawer and slides out a dark archive drive. Robert Kane said, "This has what they bury, but if you take it, you're marked for death." Ethan Cole said, "Then death will have to wait." The narrator notes Kane's eyes shift like a man already buried in guilt. Robert Kane said, "I should have fought with you." Ethan Cole said, "Then fight now by giving me this." The drive hums in Ethan's palm like a pulse of truth. The narrator feels danger as Marcus Voss ambushes Ethan Cole and Maya Brooks outside a deserted loading dock. Marcus Voss said, "You dig too deep, you suffocate." Ethan Cole said, "Truth breathes louder than threats." The enforcer's shadow stretches long as a knife across the pavement. Maya Brooks clutches the archive drive tight against her chest. Marcus Voss said, "Hand it over, and maybe I'll let you crawl away." Ethan Cole said, "We'd rather bleed standing." The narrator notes Marcus's eyes flicker, a predator weighing prey. Suddenly, Ethan hurls a metal pipe, creating a diversion. Tires screech as they scramble into the dark, clutching the drive. Marcus Voss's roar follows like thunder, but the evidence remains theirs. The narrator sees Ethan Cole and Maya Brooks in a safe house, the air heavy with cigarette smoke and tension. Maya Brooks said, "This isn't just financial fraud, it's an entire Black Ops unit." Ethan Cole said, "Project Gorgon." The name cuts the silence like glass. The narrator notes how his eyes burn with recognition. Ethan Cole said, "Every disaster they cleaned up was engineered." Maya Brooks said, "And every name they erased was collateral." Ethan Cole said, "So the audit wasn't about numbers, it was about purging witnesses." The narrator captures the moment his purpose shifts, vengeance fusing with revelation. Ethan Cole said, "We're not just chasing money trails, we're digging graves." Maya Brooks said, "Then we need to decide if we're ready to be buried with them." The narrator watches Ethan Cole slam a file onto the table, his voice breaking with fury. Ethan Cole said, "The defect wasn't accidental. They killed people." Maya Brooks said, "And wiped them from the records." The documents show machinery recalls never filed, lives erased from ledgers. Ethan Cole said, "Every death they buried feeds their stock price." His fist shakes as he grips a page too tightly. Maya Brooks said, "If this gets out, they'll torch everything including us." Ethan Cole said, "Then we torch them first." The narrator senses the weight of murder stitched into spreadsheets. For the first time, the mission feels less like revenge and more like survival for others unseen. The narrator describes the cold fluorescent light on a stack of private memos. Maya Brooks scrolls while Ethan Cole paces behind her. Maya Brooks said, "These are Hale's directives. She ordered the purge herself." Ethan Cole said, "She signed the death warrants." The words glow on screen like curses. Ethan Cole said, "She killed people to protect profit." The narrator notes the silence after truth lands heavier than accusation. Maya Brooks said, "If we release this, she'll turn the system against us." Ethan Cole said, "Then the system dies with her lies." The air smells of burnt wires as laptops heat under strain. The narrator sees Ethan's hands trembling not with fear, but with fire. The narrator follows Liam Carter as he enters the safe house, shoulders tight, voice low. Liam Carter said, "My captain is compromised. He shields Hale from the inside." Ethan Cole said, "Then your badge was bought with her money." Liam Carter said, "Don't push me, Cole. I still carry the law." The narrator watches tension stretch the room thin. 3 people caught between duty and truth. Ethan Cole said, "The law is her weapon. You're the holster." Liam Carter said, "And what are you, executioner?" Silence stabs deeper than words. The narrator senses the fracture of belief in Liam's eyes, the badge on his belt heavier than steel. Ethan Cole said, "Choose a side, detective. Truth or Hale." The narrator feels the shift as Ethan Cole sets papers aside and stares out the safe house window. Ethan Cole said, "This was never about clearing my name." Maya Brooks said, "Then what is it now?" He answers with silence first, then with fire. Ethan Cole said, "It's about the dead, every one of them buried by her lies." The narrator senses his anger transform into mission. Ethan Cole said, "Revenge was mine. Justice is theirs." Maya Brooks said, "That means no turning back." He nods once, jaw locked. Outside, sirens wail in distant streets, but inside a war is born. The narrator knows Ethan will not rest until Hale's empire burns. The narrator follows Ethan Cole and Maya Brooks as they set their trap in a rented office, wires coiled like serpents on the floor. Maya Brooks said, "This forged subpoena looks authentic enough to bait her." Ethan Cole said, "Hale can't resist a threat to her kingdom." The screen glows with mock legal seals, every pixel sharpened to provoke panic. Ethan Cole said, "We leak it just far enough so her people scramble." Maya Brooks said, "And when they come for it, we trace them back to the vault." The narrator notes Ethan's eyes flicker with a dangerous calm. Ethan Cole said, "We build a noose she can't see until it closes." Silence thrums louder than the cooling fan. The narrator feels the storm gathering as every keystroke writes Hale's downfall into code. The narrator shifts to a dim warehouse where Marcus Voss stands over Lily Park, tied to a chair, eyes wide with fear. Marcus Voss said, "He'll trade the evidence for you." Lily Park said, "He won't bend." His voice carries the weight of someone who breaks bones as easily as promises. The narrator feels dread fill the air, heavier than the chains binding her wrists. Lily Park said, "You're just Hale's leash dog." Marcus Voss leans in, smirking. Marcus Voss said, "Dogs bite." The silence afterward is worse than his words. Lily Park said, "If I die here, the truth still gets out." He pauses, momentarily unsettled. The narrator sees in her trembling body a courage born from desperation, an ember that refuses to extinguish even under shadow. The narrator follows Ethan Cole and Maya Brooks as they storm the warehouse, desperation cracking the night. Ethan Cole said, "She dies if we wait." Maya Brooks said, "So do we if we rush blind." They exchange one breath before the door bursts open. The narrator watches Ethan swing a pipe, knocking one guard flat. Maya Brooks hacks the padlock with a quick device, sparks flying. Lily Park lifts her head at the commotion, eyes blazing with hope. Ethan Cole said, "You're safe now." But Marcus Voss's roar fills the space, fists clenched like hammers. The narrator feels the clash of forces inevitable, blood and truth colliding in a warehouse of lies. The narrator brings us to a shareholder town hall, glass towers reflecting dawn. Ethan Cole strides to the podium, the archive drive in his hand like a weapon of light. Ethan Cole said, "Victoria Hale built her empire on corpses." Gasps ripple through the crowd as screens behind him project defect reports and payout ledgers. Maya Brooks streams the files live, her fingers steady. Victoria Hale stands from the board table, her smile brittle. Victoria Hale said, "These are fabrications by a disgraced employee." Ethan Cole said, "Signed by your hand." The narrator hears the air split with tension. Cameras flash like gunfire. The walls of her empire tremble under truth. The narrator catches chaos breaking as Marcus Voss storms the hall, shoving through stunned shareholders. Victoria Hale points at him, voice sharp. Victoria Hale said, "Stop him, he's the traitor." The enforcer freezes, her betrayal landing like a blade. Marcus Voss said, "You'd feed me to wolves after I carried your leash." The crowd erupts, voices clashing with security's shouts. Ethan Cole said, "Even your right hand sees the rot." Cameras roll as Marcus turns his glare on Hale. Marcus Voss said, "You built an empire on lies, now choke on them." The narrator feels the climax surge like a storm breaking glass. Victoria Hale's empire shatters in the very room built to worship it. The narrator watches chaos erupt as regulators flood the marble lobby of Hale Global. Victoria Hale stands rigid, pearl earrings gleaming, her empire unraveling under flashing cameras. A marshal said, "Victoria Hale, you're under investigation for corporate fraud." She tries to smile, but her voice trembles. Victoria Hale said, "This is a misunderstanding." Ethan Cole, standing behind the crowd, whispers coldly, "Misunderstanding written in blood." The narrator notes how board members scatter like leaves in a storm. Employees huddle, whispering as security hesitates. Ethan Cole said, "They finally see her throne was built on bones." The flashbulbs fire like judgment. Victoria Hale lowers her eyes, the first sign of defeat. The narrator follows Detective Liam Carter as he enters his precinct, holding a thick folder. Officers glance up, their stares cold, but he walks steady. Liam Carter said, "Captain Miller covered Hale's tracks. He's finished." A clerk whispers nervously, "You'll burn your badge for this." Liam Carter said, "Then it burns for truth." The narrator sees sweat beading at his temple, but his hand does not shake. He slams the folder on the captain's desk. Liam Carter said, "Internal affairs will have your head." The captain sneers but says nothing. The narrator knows this act costs Liam his career, but in sacrifice he finds his own redemption. In a quiet newsroom, Maya Brooks uploads encrypted files to a public archive. The narrator hears the low hum of servers, a sound like justice waking. Maya Brooks said, "No more hiding." She presses enter, and the screen confirms transfer complete. Ethan Cole stands nearby, silent, watching as if exorcising ghosts. Maya Brooks said, "The world will see their lies, even if they kill us." Ethan Cole said, "Then let them try." The narrator notices Lily Park waiting by the door, nervous but relieved. The files spread across the world like wildfire in silence. Maya Brooks wipes sweat from her brow, her eyes burning with quiet triumph. The narrator describes Ethan Cole alone in his stripped apartment. Boxes are gone, only shadows remain. He touches the cracked photo frame of his father, holding it one last time. Ethan Cole said, "I did it, Dad. Not for me, but for them." His voice breaks, softer than it has been in weeks. The narrator sees his eyes weary, not victorious. Revenge gave way to truth, but truth did not heal. He sets the frame down, turns off the last lamp, and stands in the doorway. Ethan Cole said, "Now I live with what's left." The apartment breathes silence as he leaves. The narrator follows Ethan Cole into a rain-soaked street at night. A courier brushes past, sliding a small envelope into his pocket without a word. Ethan opens it under the street lamp. A drive stamped with the Project Gorgon insignia. Ethan Cole said, "It's not over." The narrator notes how his lips press into a grim line, no joy in victory, only readiness for the next war. He pockets the drive and looks toward the skyline, neon bleeding into rain. Ethan Cole said, "You can't kill rot in one strike." The storm lashes harder, but he does not flinch. The narrator closes with silence, the weight of unfinished battles burning in Ethan's eyes.